Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Evolution Podcast, where we're meeting with owners of coaching and training small and medium sized businesses to discuss evolving their business and client impact in the era of AI. Today, we have Mr. Norm Goldstein with us. Norm runs two companies, his executive coaching practice, as well as EduNetwork Partners, which he has been building for over 2 decades and serving Fortune 500 clients, including the New York Stock Exchange, Experian, P&G, Hard Rock, and others. Welcome, Norm. It's great to have you here. Please tell us a bit more about your story and what Edu Network Partners currently does.
So thank you, Ethan, for asking me to come on. So I've been a serial entrepreneur for a long time. I go back to the early days of my career where I was the president of a leading fashion design firm called Jeffrey Bean. I was 24 years old, and that was many, many, many years ago. That led me to meet one of the most renowned artists of this last couple of centuries, Peter Max, where I became Peter Max's partner in creating licensing campaigns for him, along with creating a brand of health foods called Max Snacks, which was very successful at the time in a lot of supermarkets. Then we did a art gallery called Peter Max Galleries, which was a place for burgeoning artists, which was very successful. And then I went into a lot of different businesses over the years. But the one that is most notable was I formed a partnership with the Sharper Image. I became their partner in developing their Invented Here brand, excuse me. And I was able to license their brand to a lot of companies to put their products into these different organizations around the country. We even set up a Sharper Image shop in Bloomingdale's in Manhattan on 59th Street with a lot of the licensed products. That led me to meeting a man who founded Priceline, and I was able to build a patent portfolio and manage that patent portfolio, which were business process patents. Business process patents would be like what Henry Ford did in developing the assembly line. It was a process. So that was what I was doing, business process patents, and I was able to manage the portfolio of about 300 business process patents. And then 2000 came around, and there was a financial turnaround in the country. And so I decided to focus on different kinds of businesses. And at the time, then my 11-year-old daughter was having difficulties with her learning disabilities. And she asked for us to get a tutor to help her in school because she was having difficulty writing. Uh, and so we got a tutor who was the dean of Manhattanville College, who came to the house and wanted to see my daughter's cognitive abilities to replicate visuals and then transfer them into written documents. So she asked her if she could draw the backyard trees and bushes. And so she went upstairs and brought down a tub of crayons. And then she couldn't actually do the drawing too well. So she got upset, and this tutor said, "I'll come back in a week. Why don't you show me what you can do?" A week goes by. This woman came back. My daughter now is sitting with an incredible drawing from what she couldn't do, even lifting up a crayon. And this woman was kind of blown away that in a week's time, she went from being very unable to manipulate a pencil or crayon to being able to draw this beautiful drawing. And so she quizzically said, "How did you do that?" And at the time, my daughter had these 12 little plastic tubes sitting on the kitchen table with little broken pieces of crayon sticking out. And she said, "Well, where did you get that?" And she said, "Well, I went into the kitchen and I passed by the garbage and I saw that my dad had given my mom a dozen roses. And on the bottom of the rose stems were these little plastic tubes. And she said, I realized that the thickness of the rose stem was the same thickness of a crayon. And so I shook out the water and took the tubes and put in little broken pieces of crayon. And I made this thing that helped me write and draw. So this woman, who was
Fantastic.
really a speaker at a lot of the conferences around the tri-state area on kids with disabilities, was kind of blown away and asked my wife, could I please take 6 of these and show these around in the different conferences I attend? And of course, my wife said yes. And so over the next 6, 7 weeks, our phone started ringing off the hook from people who were saying, well, where can I buy this? How did you do this? Principals, teachers, parents. And so it dawned on me as a coach, well, maybe we can make my daughter an inventor and file a patent for her. So what we did was we discussed it with her, and although she was 11, she didn't really understand the idea of what a patent was, but we explained it in a way that she grasped it, and she says, sure. So we interviewed a bunch of patent attorneys. She picked one, Kurt Mashoff, and he said, this is going to be a long process. It's going to be expensive, and the likelihood is very slim. But my daughter was so energized by this that I said, you know what? I think it'll be worth doing it. So long story short, over the next 4 years, her invention got rejected twice by the U.S. Patent Office, and she made modifications to the claims, which is what you do. And then she turned 15, and he called up and he said, are you sitting down? I said, sure. Why? What's up? He said, your daughter has just received a United States utility patent, and she's one of the youngest inventors in the country. And I said, oh my God, that's incredible. So that was just the beginning of the story. So I said, wow, this could be really big. And so what we did was we started looking for toy companies that might be interested in licensing her invention. And we did find a company that wanted to license it. They produced it. Actually, this is the package so that you can see the product. And they actually went and sold it to this small company called Walmart. And that was sort of a jumping off point for her. She got a lot of publicity, a lot of notoriety. And in school, she was called the crayon holder girl. And it got her a lot of attention in the newspapers, magazines, and she was on a number of TV shows. And 2 years later, she was nominated by some patent attorney to the U.S. Office of Patent and Trademarks, and they had an organization that nominated her for the first United States utility patent youngest holder, and she got an opportunity to speak in front of a group of senators and representatives, and received her first honor as one of the youngest inventors in the U.S. And that was really an amazing time. And she said this was a product by a kid and for a kid. And so with that genesis of an idea, I started a company called By Kids for
Kids. Yep.
And so what we started doing is we started running programs where kids could submit their business and product ideas to us. We would run a program where we'd have contests as well, and the winning kids would get a patent in their name free of charge, and then we would market that idea so that the kid could really get some real value. And at the end of the day, we started meeting a lot of corporations that wanted to develop their product ideas from having kids come up with them. And that was sort of the genesis of our company in 2003. by kids for kids. And from there on, it's been a magical mystery tour. Um, we started running ideas. We filed 26 patents in children's name free of charge by the time we reached
Incredible.
2008. And that was when we had another financial debacle where the market started to change. And so we switched the business model into running programs for major corporations where we would go out to the schools and deliver materials into the hands of teachers aligned to their subject matter, math as an example, or science, and align the materials to the state and national standards so that the teachers could utilize the materials in their classroom to help excite and ignite innovation from children. And that sort of began another genesis of our program, where we have now run almost 122 major corporation initiatives into schools over our time in business. And it was when the pandemic hit that we developed an idea where we decided to change the company name because we were starting to deal with older kids. And teenagers didn't want to be associated with a company that was by kids for kids.
Mm.
And so we realized that that was an impediment for us to get teenagers more comfortable. So we changed the name of the company to EduNetwork Partners. And that really enabled us now to deal with many corporations. But one of the things that has become an outgrowth of the company since the pandemic, as the world has profoundly changed forever, is we realized the impact that the pandemic had on people's lives. And so we decided to start running campaigns that had a very critical impact on students' lives. And so we have been running programs for the prevention and awareness of youth sex trafficking in schools, the prevention and awareness of opioid addiction and fentanyl addiction. I am a cancer survivor, and so we went to the American Cancer Society, and we have run a program around cancer for kids so they understand when a child hears the big C word, they understand what that means, and also ways with which to prevent the possibilities of them getting cancer. Now, that's just a few of the things that we've done. Um, that's in addition to running programs like with the gentleman behind me, who is the cartoon character of Warren Buffett, where we run a program called the Secret Millionaires Club, where Mr. Buffett plays a cartoon character in a variety of webisodes with a variety of his friends who he's asked to join in to help support this National Youth Financial Literacy Program. Few people you may know the name, like Bill Gates, Lee, Shaquille O'Neal, Nick Cannon, just, people of that,
Oh,
yeah, who have done their own voiceovers in their own characters, approving their characters, of course, and talking about subject matter that really is relevant to them. We've obviously done programs with major tech companies, Xerox, Intel, Procter and Gamble, and others, and we've done programs, with a lot of the leagues, the NFL, the NBA, Major League Soccer, Major League Hockey, the NBA. So we've also done those programs, all of which have had an impact on students' lives. So suffice to say, over our 23 years of existence, we've really had a major impact on students' lives. But what's most important, and which is what we call our secret sauce, is because we are a youth contest specialist, is that we run these programs in schools so that the teachers can utilize the material in their class to help them meet their mandated requirement of teaching and to help them excite the kids around the subject matter. But at the same time, like the one with Mr. Buffett, the kids can enter a contest. And in that example, the students were charged with coming up with a business idea that had a philanthropic component. And they submitted that into our competition engine. But what was very important was that it requires parental permissioning. So the sponsor of one particular program with Mr. Buffett was Experian, and they utilized their creditreport.com brand. And so the brand, which is now integrated into all the materials, travels into these tens of thousands of households around the country so that it is unfiltered and, more than anything, welcomed into the households, so that the brand gets into these households as a friendly family member. And then the parents are required to go to the website for the program so they can see where their child's participating and approve their participation. And in there is a button in the parents section that says, click here to learn more about our sponsor. And then they're sent to that sponsor's website. It's a beautiful thing because it's a win-win-win for everybody along the continuum, which is a rarity today in sort of the business structure, particularly dealing with student education, educators, business leaders, and parents. So we are very delighted to be part of this podcast. And thank you, Ethan, for asking me.
Of course. Yeah, no, I mean, it's great to have you here, Norm. And today the episode is actually coaching executives to compound their corporate social responsibility initiatives through curriculum. And I thought I was going to have to ask you to go a little bit more in depth on why this is such an everybody wins business model. But, you've uncovered it perfectly, right? The materials go to the schools and therefore go to the parents. The kids are benefiting from their ability to contribute and compete in these competitions. And then the company that gets involved gets great ideas from these children, but also gets the recognition that goes to the parents and to the schools ultimately. So, I mean, it's just a beautiful business model and truly inspirational. I think as so many businesses nowadays are trying to extract value from the world rather than feed back into it. And clearly, you're doing a great job with EduNetwork partners of just you guys are generating value out of thin air, right? Like you're connecting dots that everybody wins from having put together, and it's really fantastic. Um, and so yeah, very very just proud of you. So, like great idea, and it's awesome that it all stemmed from you having the first hand experience of Cassidy, of your daughter, undergoing success in this exact same way that you've now created for hundreds of others.
Thank you. And I did want to add one thing. There is
Yep.
an incentive, particularly with the program with Mr. Buffett, as he generously gave all the finalists 10 shares of Berkshire Hathaway B stock. So there was a very nice award for these kids' efforts, and the winning kids came up with some incredible ideas. One of the things that really has inspired me in so many ways is that what we learned after my daughter came up with her invention is that kids have so many incredible ideas that are untapped, that
Hmm.
they can see things sort of that are hidden in plain sight, that an adult doesn't necessarily have the scope and the ingenuity to see things. And we've had kids come up with things that just are boggling the mind, whether it be a book or a product or a service. And so we feel really very, very fortunate that we get entrusted by teachers, superintendents, and principals, and then, of course, parents, to develop programs that will enable their student to get involved in programs we run.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and I guess kind of moving down to like the industry line of questioning here. You said the kids are coming up with these mind-boggling ideas. I guess I'm curious if you kind of think about AI and how business demands are changing, especially over the last 2 years. I feel like budgets have maybe gotten a little bit smaller for things like CSR. I guess I'm curious what you're seeing corporate buyers initiating in terms of what they're looking to get out of CSR, and if there's any overlap there with AI and how technology is progressing.
Well, One of the things that we have noticed is that, again, post-pandemic, a lot of companies and their employees were really impacted by the pandemic and really shook to the core. So many people lost people or know people that they lost. And so a lot of attention is being derived by doing things that have a corporate social impact. And I think, you know, some companies, depending upon the size and the budget, will start out with a pilot and begin sort of testing the water. We have one very large company that we're about to launch a pilot with in their state. And so once that is proven to be successful, they might go regional and then ultimately national, again, because of budget constraints. And as I'm sure you're aware, you look around the newspaper and the news, a lot of companies are downsizing, condensing roles, et cetera. So there is a shrinking budget for the things that don't necessarily generate revenue and income at the front end. And
Mhm.
corporate social responsibility isn't one of those. It's one of those things that really gives a company the badge of honor of being a good corporate citizen. And what we have found is that, there's a wide range of rationale for companies to do CSR work. At one end of the spectrum, they want to check the box, and it's good for shareholders to see that they're doing, outreach in a corporate social responsibility way. And on the left side or the other side of the spectrum, you know, a CEO and management really feels a passion about, making a difference. And it doesn't come from the head, it comes from the heart. And there's a different approach to things when it comes that way. But it really depends on management style. And, there's no right way to get into it, but better to do it than not versus just sending a check to a charity, although there's nothing wrong with doing that. But at the end of the day, I think it's imperative from what we've seen is that having your employees see a program that enables students' future really hits home on a deep core level, other than just, sending a check to a not-for-profit to do good, or doing some sort of an event at their corporate offices. But being intimately involved in a campaign that has a cause and having people really, touch the hearts of their fellow citizens really has a different impact on employees.
Yeah, two things that I was thinking about as you were talking through that on the stakeholders and potential stakeholders path is one, I was thinking about employees at large corporations, right? Who obviously, if they know that their company is doing something good like this, it's something to talk about and feel good about when they're thinking about their company, which obviously has compounding returns on employee retention, et cetera. But I guess I was curious, have any of the initiatives that you've done directly involved teams that are more on the ground at those companies, such that it's not just the uh, HR teams and the people that are running the marketing benefit side of this campaign that are involved, but have there ever been opportunities for employees maybe that, like, let's say that it's like like a product that is getting invented for a company, and there's like the product team. Maybe there's opportunities for lower level employees or managers to like have sponsoring kids. Not that they're necessarily paying, but getting more directly involved with the children that are on the ground, coming up with the idea.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've done programs where employees could go into schools and do service, do auditorium speeches. It really depends on the company's needs and where they are and the amount of resources where you can get employees that are really passionate about a particular topic and want to sort of bring it to the next level of knowledge by having it come verbally to them versus coming through, their teacher. And it almost sounds more humdrum than it does humane. And I think if you get a speaker that comes in an auditorium and talks about youth sex trafficking or opioid addiction and the ills of that, I think it makes an enormous difference than just sending out documents in the email to the teachers to distribute.
100%. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
good. Just good to hear that there's as much on the ground happening as possible. And yeah, I'm sure that people are very appreciative to know that their company is engaging in things like that. Speaking of which, from like the business growth side and how EduNetwork Partners is thinking about, increasing this impact that you guys have already been able to do. You informed me during our last call that you guys are working with a consulting group that essentially goes out and helps you figure out what these very different
Mhm.
management and executive styles are across companies and how they're thinking about CSR differently. I guess I'm curious what's been going well for you guys so far in terms of finding good match companies and invigorating that sense of regard for impact that you guys have the potential to create.
Well, as you asked at the beginning of this, we use an AI group that goes out and researches organizations that are looking to do things that are philanthropic, CSR focused, community based, so that we know that they have the mindset already in place. To get an organization over that hump of why don't you spend money on, going out to the various offices in your communities that your offices are and doing a program in a 100-mile radius around those offices where your employees can go out into the schools and talk about various subjects. It really depends on the willingness of the key point person. It's really a stakeholder kind of a thing where you get somebody who's very passionate about a particular subject, and they go to management, and whether the budget's there or not, they try to find a way to fund it, if only on a pilot basis, but to get it jump started. And so that's sort of the way we see things going currently is it's more of an uphill battle these days
Mm.
because of the state of uh, the financial situation in our country. There's a lot of reluctance and reticence from corporations to spend discretionary dollars in programs that don't have a direct return of investment today. And so we see a lot of companies saying, come back to us next year. But the companies that have a passion are still doing it on a pilot basis just to keep the ball rolling forward.
Gotcha. And how have you felt as the CEO of the company about how the outreach process has been going and the ability to maintain people that are attracted and interested to what you guys are putting together? Because the way that I see it is probably one of the best bang for buck kind of CSR initiatives that you can have. So long as there is some budget, it seems very, very viable that it could get allocated towards your company. Curious if that's felt like being matched by the market given the approach that you guys are taking currently.
Well, the thing is that I'm very proud of is that our team are all passionate about the work we do. They're not in it just to get a paycheck. And that makes a profound difference on the quality of the work and the ability to do the work. And one of the things that I feel very proud about, and I think I've shared this with you, uh, we don't operate as a vendor. We operate as a partner. And what that means is we become an extension of a corporation's team just in another location. And given the fact that people are all working from home, we obviously get bolted onto their marketing or CSR team, and we operate that way. And I think I may have mentioned this to you. Our team literally works in 24/7, 365. So there's no such thing as nights and weekends if there's an important topic, project that has to go on. And I will tell you that in our 23 years, we have never missed a deadline.
So impressive.
Never. And we will never miss a deadline, no matter what it takes, no matter how much it costs, or whatever we have to do. because people count on us, and very much like what they do in therapeutic groups where there's a person that puts their arms out and they fall back. We're always there to
Yeah.
catch our clients. We'll never drop them. And that's because we see this work not just from a bottom line standpoint, but more from an impact standpoint. And our investors at the end of the year don't look at revenue. They look at what the impact has been for the year, because that has a greater return on investment than any profitability that a company can generate. You are talking about human lives and children's future. And who knows, one or two kids who come through this process can really make a difference in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, just from the perspective of the winner of any competition is somewhere between 1 and 5 people. And that product that gets invented, that idea that comes to fruition is impactful. And I'm sure you apply the product example to the live state from the trafficking initiatives and whatnot. That I mean, it's unquantifiable impact certainly. Um, I guess one thing that you said that came out there was you guys are working 24/7, 365, right? So to me, it seems there's almost a bottleneck in terms of the amount of work that you guys have to do and are pedal to the metal doing on a day-to-day basis to serve your existing client base, right? And so in theory, you've got like two options. You either increase the efficiency of the workforce, and AI has tons of opportunity to do that, or you go and you increase your team size as you start to get those more clients. I guess I'm curious, like what maybe some of the main things are that are really taking up lots of time that you think maybe AI could play a role in so that your team could be even more efficient, even more effective, and impact more people.
So I'm going to ask for apology in advance by the following statement. It usually, when you're dealing with a large corporation, there is a whole potpourri of behind the scenes people that have to approve the use of logos, terminology, design, etc., risk, legal, compliance. And what we find is that those areas of the company tend to not move at the same pace as the marketing or outreach teams of a company.
Mhm.
As a result of their not being in the front line, they don't really have the sense of urgency because their job is to dot the I's and cross the T's. And we have had, many, many times where that has come into play with launching of a program, and the not provided the go ahead because of those areas really getting stuck in whatever it is, terminology, look, color, design, size, you name it. And, so what we try to do is give the client who are in the front line a lot of wiggle room time in order to get those areas on board and synergistic with what we need in order to kick off a program. And that usually goes for the first year of a program. Once
Wow.
we once we get on board with a company and start to develop an ongoing relationship, it becomes much more fluid in year 2, 3, 4, and 5, because those areas of the company tend to be more comfortable with the fact that we haven't done anything that infected them or impacted them with any bad will. So that's really where we struggle is year one with a new client to get, you know, to get going. And even sometimes in year two, we're dealing with that with a client right now where their risk team is, shall we say, um, I'm going to try to be kind, cogitating over the terminology. Anyway,
Got it. So it sounds like a lot of, okay, here's the initial picture that we've got, and then they'll come and they'll erase something, draw something new in the picture, and then they'll throw it back to you guys and say, okay, what can we do given this? And you're like, nope, that doesn't work. And it's just going back to the drawing board over and over again, probably consistently in communication, emailing and phone calls to kind of negotiate on certain terms and conditions things. And make a solidified plan that works for everyone. So just a little bit of a logistical nightmare, it sounds.
Yeah, but you know what? We've been doing this long enough where our team is very comfortable being uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Yeah. So nobody gets, oh, none of that. We never have any angst about anything a client does anymore because we've been through it all, at least in the foreseeable future. Particularly during the pandemic, there was a lot of, twists and turns and things. But right now, everything being relatively back to normal, it's sort of the classic, we don't like this. Can you change that? I don't like the wording. My logo's too small. You name it. But our team operates with an erasure mindset. Whatever it takes to give the client comfort, we're capable of doing.
No, I love it. I love it. I mean, and ultimately, that's how those relationships aren't just 1 to 2 year relationships. That's how you know, have the ability to take it to become the 4, 5, 6+ year relationships that you're seeking and executing on currently. So,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to add, because it's very relevant, is about 10 years ago, we connected with the LA Dodgers. And one of the things that I was involved with was I was on Target Store's Reading Advisory Board. And I was flown out to Minnesota to meet all the other advisors throughout the country. And there was a speaker that was there from the United States prison system who made a speech that changed the course of my thinking and my life as it relates to students and reading. And this man said that the United States prison system uses the third grade reading level of students in the country to determine how many prisons to build. That statement
Phenomenal.
blew my mind in a way that we have been focusing on reading literacy because I understood the metaphor that he was saying, albeit that it was very daunting and powerful. And so to the Dodgers' credit, they are in their 10th year of their reading literacy program in the LA school district. And I'm very proud of the way they've operated year over year in doing this campaign in the school district that needs a lot of support on reading literacy, amongst other reading literacy programs.
Yeah. Wow. Wait. So just to clarify, when you're saying they're using that analogy, but what they're actually using is the statistic of children's reading levels when they're in the third grade to project out based on how many people are below a certain reading level that has high correlation with uh, ending
Crime.
up in prison and crime. Yeah. Gotcha. Wow. Wow.
They obviously have some history and an algorithm, if you will, that shows the propensity. If you don't read at a certain level by the third grade, there's a tendency of going into nefarious things to make a
Yeah.
living. And it's the sad fact is a truth. And that's why it's imperative for us as a company to really provide that kind of service.
Gotcha. So then I guess kind of coming into the end section here, as you're thinking about how you grow your impact and how EduNetwork Partners continues to partner with more organizations and deliver effectively for all of these stakeholders, what are the main thoughts that you have in terms of growth over the next, let's call it 1 to 2 year timeline, right? We've got this team that's so busy on a daily basis, like you said, 24/7, 365. We've got the AI consulting team that's out on the ground for you, making sure the deal flow is good? Are you thinking more about, okay, we need to improve the client quality, or are we thinking, okay, it's we need to improve our operations and become more efficient so that we can execute more with the same team of really passionate people? Where do your priorities lie the most?
Well, I think like all companies, we're looking to integrate AI into the areas that don't require human intervention. Because one of the things that we find is because of the passion of our team and the importance of the subject matter, and more so the impact that it will have. We've got to be humane and very transparent about the quality of the work that we do. And I don't think that any AI system can do the kinds of things that we as humans can really touch and feel from a day-to-day basis. And so we will use it where it will save time and efficiency, obviously, but not where it has an impact on children's lives and their future.
Yeah, I think that's very logical. Like most companies that I've been talking to, uh, using it in the delivery is very rarely thought of as a potential solution. It's more, how do we make it so that the majority of the work that we're doing is delivery by getting rid of all of these other more administrative,
Mhm.
simple tasks, but
Right.
also by using it as an intelligence engine. Like one thing that is becoming very popular and I think is very intelligent is to go and look back through, like, let's say you have your 100 projects that you've done, and being able to build a system that fully understands like the scope of work that occurred across each of these and consolidates all the key insights in terms of how you can do better, what you did very strongly, what maybe could have been improved upon, and using it as like a source of information and knowledge to supercharge the people that you have that are working on the delivery front. So I think there's definitely use cases for making work that is delivered fully by humans more effective and efficient, but then also there's surely the administrative side. I mean, what I'm hearing from you is there's a lot of logistical back and forth nightmare that goes on and
Sure.
takes up a lot of people's time. Uh, Obviously, your team is so passionate that that's not going to derail their focus on what really matters. But I'm sure that they could get a couple hours of their sleep back at a bare minimum with some improved systems for tracking this long process of that first year, particularly of relationship management. So definitely opportunity there, and I'm excited to see what you guys do to execute on that opportunity.
Stay tuned and keep your seatbelt buckled.
I will. I will. Got to stay safe when I experience whatever's next with you guys. I'm sure
Thank
it's
you.
going to groundbreaking things. And yeah, it's been great having you here, Norm. I guess last thing, I would love to be able to just share more about EduNetwork partners and your coaching practice with
Oh, yeah.
any of our viewers here. If you want to drop like a couple like links of where people maybe should go to learn more about you, is it just edunetworkpartners.com? And yeah,
Well,
I'll let you jump in.
yeah, sure. So I've written a book called the Book of Normanisms over my 30 some odd years of coaching. It's at normgoldstein.com. And then I also am a coach, and there's coachnorm.com, where I offer coaching services, and I do help a lot of people. I'm a meditation and spiritual coach. I run meditation sessions in the school for 4-year-olds in different classes. And the reason I do that is that I've done enough research and learned from my own experiences that if I can help teach a 4 and 5-year-old how to self-soothe at an early age, they won't have to go outside and look for things to self-soothe themselves. So,
It's been
so that's the first thing I do. The second thing I do is I do it also for the seniors, because I do it in the local temple here in our community, because a lot of people, when they get to a certain age and stage, it's a scary prospect. So a lot of people need to learn that self-soothing mechanism in order to stay in the present moment, stay in the day, and not get on their magic carpet and fly into the future, because the future is very, very ambiguous, daunting, and unknown. So I try to help people stay where their feet are. And it's a real process when you've spent 50, 60, 70 years of traveling on your carpet into the future to ensure that you stay in the day.
I love it. So everybody that came in and had the chance to hear Norm talk through his amazing business today, you know where to find more information about him. and about his company and his coaching practice. But yes, everyone, thank you for being here. And Norm, thanks. It's been a great time.
Namaste.
I love it. I love it.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.